For our second lifter, our lifter who really struggles to get diaphragm ascension, we take a little bit of a different route with how we're going to get them to learn to brace. So with these lifters who tend to kind of suck in a little bit more, they're struggling to get expansion in the first place. We don't want them to go where our first lifter went, where they're overextended, but at the same time, we do want some expansion to happen at the diaphragm, right? So like I said, a little bit of a different approach. We're going to use gravity to kind of establish that breathing pattern again, like we were talking about, but we wrote about it a little bit differently. So from here, we can have our lifter set up hands and knees, and their head's going to be against a bench or a wall, really just using it as a reference marker to make sure that they don't rock back, right? So we don't want you doing the exercise back here. Instead, we want you rocked forward, okay? So from there, you're thinking about trying to lift your head and your back of your rib cage up towards the ceiling, right? This stops you from breathing into your chest so we can get good diaphragm expansion like we were talking about. This kind of becomes you have to do it this way, otherwise you're not going to breathe, basically. And from here, they're going to take one hand, place it across their belly, and the other hand is going to be supporting them, making sure they're staying up nice and high and forward still. So from there, they're going to tighten up their abs like they're going to take a kick to the stomach. And as they breathe in, that belly is going to expand. And as they breathe out, little collapse is normal. Inhale, exhale. And you're just doing some reps on either side. Not too worried about duration of breath or anything like that. Just making sure they stay tall, forward. And as they breathe in, the diaphragm expands and pushes out against the hand. And as they breathe out, comes back in. Okay? So that's step one, is we're getting breathing pattern. Step two is we start to load it. We're going to take the lifter, knees come up off the ground. And so you're going to have 3 points of contact with the floor now instead of 5, where you have your knees before. Effectively, same position as before, and lifting up. So I'm up here, knees come up, and then I'm still thinking about keeping that expansion in my belly. And it's the same pattern as before, but the knees are off the ground. So you're challenging your abs now to be integrated with your diaphragm at the same time. This is where things start to again join up with that first lifter again. Once we've got that lifter understanding what creating and maintaining abdominal pressure feels like and how to breathe with that, we get them up. And again, if we're working on our squat, we're going to take them through a coached bodyweight squat, get them to feel that expansion where they're not sucked in, but they can actually create expansion and roll through a squat. And then we load them up, right? As we load them, generally, I like to start with front squats, the spar loaded on the shoulders, arms crossed, or clean grip if you've got the mobility for it. Just because this tends to help these lifters keep the thorax open while still getting good expansion in the belly, and then going into competition squats from there. But again, like those dumbbell goblet squats with our first lifter, the front squats, you can load them really, really hard. They're gonna carry over really well to your squat. They'll challenge your brace, and ultimately you're gonna end up with a stronger brace in the long run, which gives you stronger power lifts at the end of the game, at the end of the day, right? That's about it. One last thing I wanna mention with regards to all this breathing and bracing stuff we went through is breathing and stabilizing patterns and keeping things consistent. So it's really common to see lifters who get sort of halfway through this program, either from lifter 1 or lifter 2, and they can create abdominal pressure, right? But as they get tired, they lose it, and they're only able to hold it statically instead of being able to breathe while maintaining pressure. So their abs might look like that when they've started the lift, nice and tight, 1, 2, 3, and they get to rep 5, let's say, of a set of 8, right? And then and their abs have collapsed now. There's no pressure. But the problem is the barbell is still pushing down on your spine. Gravity never stops, right? So we need that lifter to instead focus on maintaining a brace and maintaining pressure while still breathing. So it'll feel more limited. It'll feel like they can't get as much air, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And visually, there's less change at the trunk. If you touch the abs, there's no change in tension or pressure when you poke in either. And that's the stabilizing pattern we're looking for, your ability to maintain tension the whole time while keeping a brace and being able to breathe, right? That was the last detail I wanted to add on that, but ultimately our, in a nutshell, fix for these is reestablish good breathing patterns, integrate it with a bracing pattern, build into the movement pattern you're looking for unloaded, and then load that movement pattern and build up to what you're working towards, which is big badass power lifts, right? Last thing for today is I wanted to mention we've got a great powerlifting Facebook group going on. It's called Starting Powerlifting. It's the Stronger You exclusive Facebook group. It's a great community of lifters from everybody who hasn't even lifted in a competition yet, all the way up to lifters who've been competing for 10 or more years. Really nice community where people can ask questions, post videos up for form review, post up your personal record videos if you want, people cheering you on, good community support, and kind of everything else powerlifting related. You also get a lot of this content on that page as well, so you can get it without having to scroll through Instagram to find it. And that's it. I'll keep a link in the YouTube description for this video, as well as in my Instagram bio, so you can find that group nice and easily. And we'll see you next time. Thanks. Have a great week. Bye-bye.